Coming up, Eora Nation for you. We are going to be talking to the grandson of Henry Westerway, who's buried at Macquarie Park Cemetery. He was one of those who was involved in the Battle of Fromelles. So we'll talk about that in just a moment.
Hi, this is Andrew.
And Zinzi from Play School.
We're turning 50 this month.
And 702 ABC Sydney is helping us celebrate.
We want you to join the party.
Get out the egg cartons and cellophane and show us some grown-up craft. You can get the kids to help, but they can't do it for you. Make a rocket, a dinosaur, an opera house. We don't mind. Once it's done, post a photo to the 702 Facebook page for your chance to win an amazing Play School experience and a cuddle and greet with the Play School toys and presenters.
So get your entries in, everyone.
And hopefully we'll see you soon.
Well, today in Eora Nation, let's take you back to World War I. Well, when we think of that war to end all wars, of course, we don't any longer just think of Gallipoli. Over the last decade or so, we've come to learn that, and over and over again, I guess, that so much more happened on the Western Front and from what may have actually happened at places like Fromelles. The Battle of Fromelles, in fact, was actually the deadliest day in Australia's military history. More than 1,900 men were killed and 5,500 injured over the 2 days from the 19th to the 20th of July. That was 100 years ago. There were 470 people captured. Private Henry Westerway, aged 30, a tin miner from near Inverell, was one of them. He was an Indigenous man from Anawine country. My next guest is Warren Smith, is his grandson. He joins me now because he's getting ready for a very special honour for Henry's final resting place in Sydney. And welcome to the program, Warren.
Hi, Wendy.
So, did I get that right? Anaiwan country?
Yeah, they're in it's in Tinga, which is near Inverell.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay. So tell me about this ceremony that's happening next week.
It'll be 100 years exactly to the day that he was taken prisoner of war in the Battle of Fromelles.
Oh, how about that?
It started on the 19th, and he entered the battle on the 20th. They were gassed by mustard gas and then taken on strength and captured.
And so when he was captured, where was he taken?
He was in Dalmine in Germany, and then he was transferred to Munster in Westphalia in Germany. He was prisoner for about 2.5 years. And all that time he was dangerously ill. He nearly died.
Wow. And how did you find out about this history? I believe that you only recently connected with all the details of his life, Warren.
Yep. It was only last year that it was actually on Anzac Day to the day that I actually found his grave. Had been before that doing some research. I knew nothing of him being in the war. And I knew nothing of my Aboriginal ancestry either, so it's been an incredible discovery.
Yeah. So you didn't know of your own ancestry?
No, not at all.
All right, well, tell us.
Because my of the history of our family, I had a pretty tough upbringing, and so did my mother. And so, I guess these things didn't get told.
Yeah. So tell us about your mum and your dad.
Yeah, well, my dad, I started doing research into my father's side, and I found out, because my surname's Smith, and what I found out is my grandfather had actually run away from home because he was an orphan, and along the way he'd changed his name. So even though I'm known as Smith, that's not actually my name. So then after that, I then started delving into my mother's side because I'd never heard her talk about family or anything like that. And through technology now, you can do all this research. And I soon discovered that he'd been in the war, my grandfather. He died before I was born. And, all these questions started to be answered. Like the home that I lived in had a name, Willayton, and that finished up. That was where they were married after the war. He was taken to prisoner of war. When he came back to the UK, they rehabilitated him, got him back healthy. He met his bride within 2 months. They were married, and then they returned to Australia on the SS Indara on a troop ship back to Australia and set up their home in Sydney.
And tell me about the Aboriginal side of all this. I mean,
Well, while I was doing the research, I connected with a family out in Inverell. I had heard my mother mention that he was a tin miner.
Yep.
And so when this family contacted me, and she had done a lot of research, and in amongst all those papers, she was the one that actually found where my grandfather's grave was, which was not very far from my home. So I've had that all through the Office of War Graves. I've had that restored, and just in time for his 100-year anniversary.
well,
And then she was mentioning about Aboriginal side of it, and initially I don't know anything about this, but eventually we went to a reunion and met all the family and the head of the land council and all that, and it was quite a surprise.
Yeah, well, you've had a big year.
Oh yeah, for sure. But I've really done it. The motivation is because of my children and my grandchildren, that they'll know where their roots are and things like that.
Yeah. Well, that is fantastic. So, tell us once more where this ceremony is going to be.
It's in it's not far from my home in Macquarie Park Cemetery, and it'll be 100 years exactly to the day he was taken prisoner of war.
Yeah. Okay. And what is planned on the day?
Well, it was actually going to be a fairly small service, really, with at the graveside, and it was going to be the 3 generations of our family, that being me, my children, and my grandchildren. And but it's picked up a bit of interest in the media, so.
Yep.
Which is interesting because of the horrible thing that's happened in France.
Yeah.
And it's a horrible segue into this story, but both in France.
All right. Well, thank you very much for that. Good to talk about that. Thank you, Warren. And
Thanks, Wendy.
thanks. And there we go. The grandson of Henry Westerway, who is buried at Macquarie Park ceremony, and one of those who took part in the Battle of Fromelles. Yes, it is 9 minutes.